Hello everyone, and thank you so much for coming to the meeting today. Today we are discussing the current issues of allocating our water supply for different uses within the Quivira National Wildlife Refuge. Now, the National Wildlife Refuge is 22,135 acres of wetlands, sand prairie, grass prairies, and it's home to over 331 species of birds, mammals, amphibians, reptiles, and many native plants. Now, the Central Flyway, which is essential to many waterfowl, is located within Quivira, and we really need to protect this wildlife. According to a DWR report, over the last 34 years reviewed, shortages of greater than 3,000 acre per feet occurred in 18 years. And I'm deeply concerned that if the junior water right holders take priority over our senior right water holders, we're going to do way more damage than good. Now, we do want to support our local farmers and our local businesses, but we really need to find that right balance. Some may say that our refuge is one, if not the most important national wildlife refuge in North America, because it's home to so many essential species and 90% of all migratory birds stop and rest in this refuge. Now, farming is essential, but there might be ways to practice better water conservation tactics. Now, I would like to introduce Ms. Katie, our local groundwater manager.
Thank you for having me here today. Water conservation and quality is really important to me, and I'm glad I'm here to discuss the welfare of Kansas water. Quivira Wetlands has a unique salt deposit, causing the water in Quivira Wetlands to have a salty characteristic, which makes it unusable for human consumption without desalination treatments. Quivira uses water from precipitation, aquifers, and the Rattlesnake Creek. Rattlesnake Creek flows into the Rattlesnake Creek Basin, which provides water for both the refuge and surrounding farmers. Here behind me is a map of the Quivira Refuge and the Rattlesnake Creek Basin. So here, the Rattlesnake Creek flows into the small salt marsh up to the big salt marsh, where it then flows and joins the Arkansas River. The hunting clubs that cooperate with the refuge manage to efficiently provide a more stable water supply by channeling the Rattlesnake Creek directly to the Little Salt Marsh to help sustain over 34 wetlands totaling over 6,000 acres of marshlands. To ensure that Quivira National Wildlife Refuge provides adequate conditions for wildlife, water quality is a huge factor. According to the article, Real-Time Water Quality Monitoring for Protection of Wildlife at Quivira National Wildlife Refuge, South Central Kansas, by Victoria G. Christensen, a geologist and hydrologist, the United States Geological Survey has been monitoring the refuge's stream stage, discharge, and water flow quality. They receive the information by using a stream flow gauging station located on Rattlesnake Creek. The data is collected both real-time with records of physical properties of the water and manual collections that are analyzed with chemicals at the USGS National Water Quality Laboratory located in Denver, Colorado. The lab analyzes chemicals, metals, pesticides, and bacteria in the water. These components affect the temperature, pH, conductance, turbidity, and dissolved oxygen and ions. With the funding of Quivira National Wildlife Refuge and access to the USGS's water monitoring, water quality is easier to determine compared to the water supply of independent farmers. According to Christensen, Quivira National Wildlife Refuge's monitoring by the USGS will allow resource managers to protect wildlife at the refuge by reacting quickly to significant changes in water quality. The water in the refuge has been provided with more precautions that ensures more secure water quality, positively affecting downstream farmers of the Rattlesnake Creek Basin.
Thank you so much for your time, Ms. Katie. I really appreciate you coming out and providing us with that very important information. Now, I would like to introduce Mr. Nash, a member of the Audubon Society.
Thank you, Sydney. Hello, my name is Nash Gibbons, and I represent the Kansas Audubon Society. There are many precious species of birds that call Quivira home. If the water is diverted from the refuge and used for other purposes, then the birds won't have the necessary resources to build a temporary home. The whooping crane is one of, if not the rarest birds of all North America. Quivira is a resting place for the whooping crane until it either goes up to Canada to breed or goes down to Texas to escape colder temperatures. Before Europeans settled in America, the estimated population was thought to be over 1,000. Back then, it wasn't really a reason to protect the species, so the destruction of other habitats and overhunting significantly decreased their chances of survival. By 1938, the population was brought down to a total of 15 birds, making it hard to ever make a comeback. Since then, these birds have been fairly protected, and it's been punishable by prison time if ever caught with a crane. After having a hard time reproducing in captivity, the migratory population slightly grew in numbers, with about a total of 100 birds. Whooping cranes don't have many resting places on their trip from Canada, so it's only right to sustain the stocks we have. That is why our birds should be our #1 priority.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nash, for your time and for providing us with information about those beautiful birds. Now I would like to welcome Ms. Farmer Jordan from the Rattlesnake Creek Basin.
The water from the Rattlesnake Creek is being primarily used for the benefit of the animals that live in the reserve, but independent farmers like myself in the Rattlesnake Creek Basin receive little water to begin with. Over the years that the Rattlesnake Creek has been channeled straight to the reserve, our water supply has been cut drastically. By cutting our primary water source, our profit has also been cut. As a female farmer and mother of 4, I rely on the crops I produce to put food on the table. Without an adequate water supply, I am afraid that my crop yield will not be sufficient to sustain and support my family and business. Is it possible to find a way to divert part of the Rattlesnake Creek so the people of Rattlesnake Creek Basin receive a steadier and more dependable flow of water?
Thank you so much, Ms. Jordan, for sharing your story, and I really hope we can get you an answer soon. But for right now, let's hear from Ms. Brooke, a local business owner.
Thank you for having me. St. John's is home to nearly 200,000 residents, all of which need water for themselves, for the farmers who grow their food, and for the Quivira National Wildlife Park that brings in a lot of the town's money. While the farmers are a very important part of the economy, losing Quivira's National Wildlife Park would bring the farmers down as well. Because the Quivira National Park brings in a lot of tourists, there is a higher demand for food from the farmers to feed the incoming people. Another important factor in St. John's economy is Quivira's hunting area. Quivira's wetlands bring in a lot of migratory birds that can only be found there. While this is a risky thing to do with the endangered species like the whooping crane nesting there, a large portion of the tourists come to hunt. Quivira National Park also provides jobs and internship opportunities to the public. Intern Taylor Franklin says, "This internship may have changed my life in that it began my path to the career in conservation."
Thank you so much, Ms. Brooke, for your input. What you had to say was very enlightening. Now, once again, hunters come from all over the world to hunt waterfowl and different species of birds that they don't get to hunt anywhere else. Now, our hunters do rely on our farmers because many species of the birds that they hunt use the farmer's crop as their reliable food source. Now, I know that farmers, you may view them as pests, but these birds are truly essential to our environment. And the loss of the water to Quivira would not only cause a problem for the National Wildlife Refuge, but it caused a long-term problem for city funding, which will affect everyone, including the junior water right holders. I feel that if we can find the right balance between the two, then we are on a path towards the right direction. Thank you again so much for your time, and let's meet sometime in the future to further discuss the management and organization of water in Kansas.